A Plano woman was automatically sentenced to life in prison after being found guilty of murdering her ex-fiance's 2-year-old daughter. It took a jury less than an hour to convict Melinda Muniz for suffocating Grace Ford, a crime she tried to cover up by faking a break-in in the apartment. Fox 4's Richard Ray joins us from McKinney with the emotional reaction from Grace's family that happened in court today. Richard.
Good evening, Steve. After a 2-week trial, the jury took just 45 minutes to reach its verdicts. 26-year-old Melinda Muniz will be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After the verdict and sentencing, family members of Grace Ford addressed Melinda Muniz in victim impact statements, repeating some of what they'd said downstairs for reporters.
It's been emotionally overwhelming.
The child's mother, Emily Ward.
I forgave Melinda not because she deserves it, but because I need closure and I need to move on with my life.
Mitch Ford, the child's father, left the courthouse without further comment. But in court, he told his ex-fiancée Muniz, "I don't forgive you and I never will." Prosecutors said Muniz killed 2-year-old Grace Ford just hours after the toddler's father called off their engagement, smothering the child with a pillow, then duct taping her mouth. Then they argued Muniz staged a home invasion in Ford's apartment in an attempt to cover up the murder. The jury deliberated less than an hour before coming back with a guilty verdict. Muniz was expected to take the stand this morning as her defense attorneys began presenting a case, but opted not to.
After argument was over, she became more and more tearful, more and more fearful.
Muniz showed little emotion, simply nodding to family members as she left the courtroom. Defense attorney Robbie McClung says Muniz is worried now about what happens to her 3-month-old son, likely fathered by Mitch Ford, though DNA test results have been sealed. That child is currently with Muniz's family.
What Melinda did was heinous.
Grandfather Doug Reeves said the family had seen signs of abuse and reported them to CPS, that Grace is in heaven and that he still talks to her.
I'll tell her I love her, we miss her, and we're so sorry we didn't do more to save her.
The impact statement by Grace's grandmother was particularly wrenching. She said, she told Muniz, "Today we should have been planning Grace's 4th birthday. You abused her, you tortured her, you murdered her. You are pure evil." Steve, one odd note about the final day in court. After a conference in the judge's chambers, an alternate juror, a man, was dismissed for what a lawyer later called inappropriate behavior, but the judge declined to talk about exactly what that behavior was.
So we don't know whether that happened during deliberations or before at this point, Rich?
I'm sorry, repeat that, Steve?
We don't know if that guy got kicked out during deliberations or before or anything like that?
It's my understanding it happened before,
okay.
And it was, again, there was a conference in chambers, and they came out in court and dismissed him, but that was all that was said in court.
All right, you mentioned that Muniz is a mother now, was pregnant. A lot of people didn't know that, gave birth about 3 months ago. So what happens to this 3-month-old? Is there a definitive ruling on that?
Well, and that's apparently still up in the air. Now, remember, the reason that they broke up, the testimony in court was that he found these nude photos on her phone and that she'd been sending them to another man. So the paternity of the child was in question. They did do a DNA test. Now, I'm told by someone who saw those test results before they were sealed that Mitch is in fact the father. I'm also told that Mitch would prefer that the child be put up for adoption. There was some talk that Mitch's mother might seek custody, but for the time being at least, I'm told that the 3-month-old boy is with Melinda's family.
Okay, there's a lot going on in this case still, even after this verdict and sentence today. Richard Ray in Collin County, thank you.